After starting this channel recently, my Instagram Discover feed has taken a bit of a turn. For some reason, Big Daddy Zuck has decided that I love conservative media. That's just a bit odd considering I'm not really conservative, but I have been wanting to engage more with conservative views, so this was a welcome change. In particular, I've been getting a lot of videos from Turning Point USA. This organization was founded by Charlie Kirk in 2012 and touts itself as fighting a war against cultural Marxism in today's youth. What really struck me wasn't the arguments that Turning Point was making on its Instagram, but how it was making them, what kind of language, imagery, and tactics it employs to drive engagement on its platform. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at Charlie Kirk and the methods his organization uses on its social media, and what that says about how we as Americans engage with politics. Turning Point USA is indistinct from its peer organizations in that it encourages young Americans, students, to participate in what it calls the war against cultural Marxism. Cultural Marxism, conservatives believe, is the obsession with gender, sexual orientation, social class, and especially race in a way that is meant to pit us against one another, and that the shift in American ideology has happened primarily as a result of leftist academic thinkers infiltrating our education system and therefore American ideals. If all of that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. This video isn't about cultural Marxism, but I think Turning Point's obsession against it is revealing because Turning Point wants to be everything cultural Marxism isn't. In other words, Turning Point is a rejection of what the liberal youth in America believe. Turning Point's core ideology is landmark conservatism, mainly touting American exceptionalism, limited government, and the importance of free market capitalism. If those words seem strange to you, it's basically the belief that America is the best because of our unique founding beliefs and principles, and we have the track record to prove it. The government's responsibilities to its citizens should be narrow in scope, much more narrow than they are today, and that capitalism is the most moral and proven economic system ever discovered. But Turning Point is different from other conservative organizations in how it seeks to win that war. There's a lot that we can say about Turning Point's arguments, but I think just watching this 30-second clip from its Instagram will show you most of what you need to see.
Happy to. So most monopolies are created by government. Sure. Yes, but I do understand Keynes. I understand all that horrible economic theory. Yeah, the government is the ultimate monopoly, right? How is it not? Government has a monopoly on power.
Let me ask my question. So if
Sure.
you understand this monopolistic economic structure, then how can you say that patents incentives,
They do actually. I think patent law should be mostly de-emphasized. No, I think patents should be about a year or 2 years, not 30 or 40 years. So that's.
You do believe in kind of making sure that a patent doesn't get.
So who issues a patent? Who issues a patent? Okay, so government is the ultimate monopoly. We agree. You just agree. It is the ultimate monopoly.
Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that no actual conversation happened in that video. I pulled away from that thinking, where was the substance of that exchange? And yes, it's a quick-witted, fiery exchange between Charlie and these other folk, but when the title of the video is... oh wait, I didn't even show you the title. Shabloimps. There it is. When you're touting that you just destroyed this person with your superior intellect and arguments, you've really got to fulfill that promise. Now, this is just my own bias, but I don't think he did. I came away from that video not understanding what the point he was trying to drive home was. Instead, I could tell he was able to get a rise out of those people. And again, you'd be forgiven for thinking, well, I guess that was just a bad example, but that's truly how most of the posts on this Instagram function. Set up the premise that you're about to own the Dems with a clickbait title that honestly puts BuzzFeed to shame, then maybe have one semi-good roast or burn in there. These two things put together, incredibly eye-catching titles and short-form videos that only highlight the triumphs of one side, is the basic formula of this Instagram. All this would be fine if we could chalk it up to someone who simply wants to destroy the Dems and it's nothing else. But Charlie champions himself as some kind of beacon of rational discussion. Take a look at this interview with Jordan Peterson.
But it's amazing to me that you just have a different viewpoint on how the world should work, that people on the left will immediately ostracize you and categorize you differently. And I always say, I'm a conservative. I don't look at people that are on the left any differently than I did. I look at who they are as a character and as a person, and the politics are just layered on top of that. The left is completely different. Is if you disagree with them, that's who you become. And I think that's one of the most cancerous and divisive aspects of modern political culture today.
And later he said,
Oh, it's a right-wing propagandist, beware. Then let's have a conversation. I don't know why they're afraid to talk.
He's literally upset that people don't want to engage with him and talk with him. It's mind-bending how ironic this is. For someone who is so upset that liberals bully you for your ideology and reduce you to this single thing, He's awfully willing to turn around and do the same on social media. Yes, Turning Point's Instagram is not the same as Charlie Kirk himself, but he's the founder and executive director of this organization. He has control over the direction of their social media presence. All of this to say, it feels like Charlie Kirk is being dishonest about his intention to actually be fair in his arguments. That dishonesty aside for a moment, one thing is clear. People react to Turning Point. A lot of it positive, citing Charlie as steering America back to its former glory and for owning stupid libtard cucks. The other is upset, trying to convince supporters that Charlie is a charlatan, a fraud, and his ideology is bunk. These reactions, both overwhelmingly positive and devoutly negative, also make up the DNA of Turning Point's social media strategy. The key to Turning Point's relevance isn't just that they offer short-form, highly emotional content, but that it succeeds in getting people to be emotional. Because the actual content and substance of these posts is so thin, they can only exist and only succeed along one metric: sustained reaction. And playing ball in this way comes at a cost. It did not surprise me that its fellow conservative organizations, such as Young America's Foundation, sent out a memo advising stakeholders and student activists to steer clear of Turning Point USA for its repeated inflation of numbers, derisive tactics, and diaper-filled stunts. All of this put together, though, reinforces a simple point. Even at the risk of alienating potential allies, Turning Point is all about generating reaction and controversy, which genuinely leads me back to a question that I've had this entire time. What's the point for them? Winning social media battles isn't the equivalent of building a movement that can win the culture war in America. If that's Charlie's and Turning Point's goal, they've clearly lost sight of it in a fundamental way. Owning the libs on Instagram isn't going to change people's hearts and minds. Part of the reason this bothers me so much is the sleight of hand that Charlie is trying to pull here. You can't sit down on a podcast and say, oh, it's so unfair that the left is so mean all the time, and turn around and do stuff like this. You can't say that you're a beacon of rational thought, but only offer clickbait bullcrap. And you can say, sure, social media is supposed to be quick and dirty, fast engagement and all that, but if you decide to be quick and dirty too, then you're not as much of a thought leader as you say you are. You've lost credibility. You can't have it both ways. Even worse than that is the collective effect that this has on political and social relations in America. And this is really my main point. If you take nothing away from this video, meditate on this. I don't think I need to explain to you all just how polarized we are in this country. It's deeply apparent even in just this election cycle, let alone recent months of racial violence. The kind of talk that Charlie Kirk says is so beneath him, reducing people down to a single identity, he engages in relentlessly. And that reduction, that ability to say, you're only this one thing, and therefore I see you as my enemy, contributes to the polarization of our country. And Charlie's not alone in this. Tomi Lahren, Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, all these people claim to have America's best interest in mind, yet continue to stoke this us versus them, conservatives against depraved liberals mentality that only serves to divide us more as a nation. Charlie, Turning Point, you're not helping. You're part of the reason why some disenfranchised white communities are so ready to be violent and hateful. You're feeding them this false narrative about a never-ending war with the liberals. It's hypocritical, immoral, and it needs to stop. Regardless of your feelings towards Kirk, though, the fact that this strategy for political engagement is successful shows us something important about our nation and our inclinations. Emotions in politics are just as important as facts and reason, if not more so. The belief that politics acts as some enlightened arena where discourse and debate are king is foolish, and maybe I'm just calling myself out when I say that because I think a lot of politicians and maybe the rest of you already understand that. Fundamentally, we're all human. We love to see a good fight, and we love to have our biases confirmed and reconfirmed constantly. Whatever can do that for us, I think we'll do just about anything to eat that shit up. What's up, fellow nerds? If anyone who likes Turning Point is still watching, hello. I'm genuinely happy you stuck around this long. I honestly just want to learn more and talk with you about it. Have I made you consider something you haven't thought about before? Or maybe I've left something out. You'll notice that I haven't really talked about the liberal side of media that may encourage similar practices, and my hunch is that there aren't that many liberal media outlets that function in the same way, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know of any examples of liberal media doing this kind of thing in the comments below. If you want to support us, subscribe on Patreon. We've got some cool stuff happening there. For now, man, let's just vibe with the beat. You already know what it is. Yo, Derek. Bro, come look. Yeah. No, you like this. You told me you liked this song earlier when I was playing it. Bro, just come listen. Bro, Marconi made it. You know Marconi. You literally, bro, you said you like Marconi. What are you talking about? SoundCloud? Bro, he's gonna be on Spotify eventually, bro. You know what I'm saying? Just come listen. All right, guys, I'm out. Stay nerdy.